Welcome to Module 2, Platforms and Posts. We are rolling right along. So in this module, we're going to establish some pretty important things, namely your content pillars, your content categories, and then the content topics that will guide you week over week throughout the year. And if you can't come up with 52 of them, no problem. Aim for maybe a quarter of that or a half of that would get you through 6 months of content and those really beautiful weekly keystone or tier 1 posts. So let's take a look at how this comes to life. First things, if you've been around Social School for any length of time or followed us, you know we talk a lot about content pillars and categories because they are the foundation of your content marketing strategy. They are the distinct themes of your storytelling that are unique to your company. And they're important to have because it allows us to break up our content into buckets or pillars that then make it interesting and full of variety and not all sounding promotional, which is the worst place to be. So a really generic example of this, if you're stuck, would be educate, inspire, and entertain. 3 fantastic pillars that most of us could say, okay, yeah, I can write some educational pieces that are who we are and what we're about and, thought leadership pieces that have to do with our industry or our business and organization. We can write some inspiring content that evokes emotion and shares and references and referrals and actually gets people feeling kind of emotionally connected to us. It could be about our people or our suppliers, our staff, our customers. It could be about changes in our industry and stats and all sorts of cool stuff. And then finally, entertain. And remember that entertain doesn't have to be comedy. This is, documentary, if you will, too. And this is where we, again, further create interest and personality around ourselves and our people. And this is where we pull back the curtains the most and show that we're as human as can be and that people can relate to us and feel magnetized to us or a certain kind of affinity for who's behind the brand, which, as we all know, is extremely important in modern marketing, as our trust barometer falls off a cliff as general consumers. A few other examples here, a nonprofit on the top row, advocate, support, connect, community. Perhaps if you're feeling a little bit less emotionally tied to your pillars, you can base it in a product category. You're a flooring supplier and your categories or your pillars of content are commercial, residential, renovation. No problem. And actually, they happen to match the thumbnail portals on your website, the entry points that show me exactly where to go depending on my needs. And that's okay. If that makes more sense to you, no problem. You can layer in some of the more emotional content once you're in there, which I know you will. You'll get creative, you'll show personality, tell stories, but you want it to be within that specific product category. No problem. Next up, these are more universal, not so exclusive to your particular business, and they're really fun. This is where, if you're reading your favorite magazine, I'm reading Inc. magazine, and every article is a how-to, or a top 10, or just sort of some long feature article that feels like a medical journal. No, that's not what keeps people flipping and turning the page or scrolling and opening for more or dying to read your next e-newsletter. It's the variety, as they say, that's the spice of our content. So, trends and tips, top 10 lists, how-tos, interviews, behind the scenes, did you know, testimonials, Q&As. This is where we can have our pillar content, our pillar number 1, educate. And I've got 5 pieces of educational content for the next 15 weeks because I cycle through my 3 pillars, and I'm going to write a how-to, a did you know, a behind the scenes, a testimonial, and a Q&A, all in my educational pillar. So you can start to see how now we're multiplying our content into some really interesting ways, and the variety comes to life, which is what people want. Next up, the keystone content. So this is where we write the pillar topics that I was just mentioning. How-to educational topic. And that's going to be week number 1. And a did you know inspirational topic, week number 2. And a behind the scenes entertainment topic, week number 3. And if I know what my business is about, my key messages, my content pillars, and what my audience wants to hear from me, hopefully I'll start to be able to just pop these topics out, at least 15 or so at a time. If you can do 52, you've got your week all or your year all lined up. Amazing. Good job. So the idea is that if you did have 4 pillars, let's say you had those 3 I mentioned, plus you had a promotional pillar. That's okay. As long as your salesy promotional content isn't all the time, you can weave that one in and have it there absolutely. And even better, if you're talking about an upcoming product launch, so it's a promotional post, but it's actually done as a behind the scenes or an unboxing. And then it's not feeling quite so salesy, which is awesome. We don't want to be sold to on social media. We're there to turn our brains off, be entertained, connect with our friends and family. And you and I, as businesses who are showing up in that space, in that party, better show up in the right way or we'll be unfollowed, blocked, kind of removed. So let's see what this looks like. We're going to determine our content pillars and categories and then start to think about our content. So we'll start with 18 of these share-worthy topics that can serve as the starting point. If you want to go further, by all means. In the next module, I'm going to show you a tool that makes this really nice and easy to kind of create in a digital environment as opposed to a notebook or an Excel spreadsheet. And then we're going to combine all of these wonderful pieces into something called our post bank. So let's see what it looks like. Here's again, kind of that sample for you if you need. And I put the promotional content right in the middle, that center sweet spot. And I said, use it sparingly and disguise it with a pillar or some kind of unique category, like we mentioned. So if you think about educate, entertain, inspire, that first educational one, building awareness and trust, particularly with new prospects and new audiences. That's really important. Inspire, great for warm audiences, so people who already know you or they've bought from you or they've been subscribed to you for a while, and ideal for generating engagement, which is awesome. And then entertaining just takes many forms, but as long as it excites some kind of action, that's awesome, particularly among your hot leads. So it could be a live video, it could be a Q&A, but maybe it's a coupon or a deal or an in-store special that's going to make them convert. But we don't need to think too much about that just yet. I just want you to come up with your own pillars. Some content category ideas. I said 6, but I meant 9. Sorry about that. So how-tos, did you knows, product reviews, behind the scenes. You get the idea, but hopefully you can read these and feel a little bit more prompted and excited about some of the things here that you could do really well. Demos. People love demos or tutorial. Any kind of review where they can see you actually physically utilizing, touching, opening a product. That's awesome. Really powerful stuff that you can cycle through. So layers down, what are your primary pillars? And then what are the primary content categories that you know can really work for you? And then we can start to, drum roll, create some compelling posts. So what we've got here are 6 questions with 3 sub-questions in each that hopefully will start to create some topics for you. So let's look at these. Something like the 3 questions I'm asked the most often as it relates to my work or my industry are what? Great. There you go. 3 misconceptions about your company or industry that you'd love to clear up. What are those? Are they myths? Are they, is this a myth buster? What is it that you'd love to actually speak to that is completely comprehended wrongly in your industry from your audience? And remember, you're not speaking to your peers of fellow car mechanics. You're speaking to your prospects who have no clue how to, pay for service or change a tire or whatever it is. Speak to the people, not to your peers. Number 3, when people work with me or us, they are most delighted to learn what, or to feel, or to see, or to understand this. And is it something that's, physical? Your sales, your service, your delivery, your speed, your customer service? Or is it something more emotional, like true relief or surprise, delight? What is it? Number 5, 3 little known facts about my company or industry are, hopefully you could talk about those for days. And then 3 things that we or I are absolutely the best in our field are what? And of course you don't have to speak right to these, but again, if you're not speaking to them at all because you're either too shy or you think it's a given, you're missing out. People, myself included, need to know what you do, need to know why I should care and why I should pick you over everybody else in a world of lots of competition. So when you have some of those topics, those are called our post topics for our keystone content, we can slot them in to our idea bank. And this is where you can lay your pillars down at the top and then some of those categories down on the left side, and start to fire some of those topics into an educational how-to or an inspirational behind-the-scenes post. So I hope that helps. That could get you 18 awesome subject matter posts for your big tier 1 keystone posts once a week, and fantastic jump off material for the rest of your tier 2 and tier 3 content. I hope that makes sense, and I will see you in module 3, the content formula, where we talk about how it all comes to life in a really seamless way. I'll see you there.